Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, how are you? I hope you all fine. There, I will explain about economic theory by David Ricardo. The lecture is Alprian Vicky Prakoso, SPD MPD. Before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Shofwan Roziq Perdana Al-Qadiri. My student ID number is 35 and I'm from Economic Education 21 International Class. The biography of David Ricardo. David Ricardo, born in London in 1772. David is indulged with economics starting in 1799 when he lived in bed. When he started read Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations. At the age of 42, he has been become a successful businessman and become a village landlord. The labor theory of value that argues that the economic value of a good or service is determined by the total amount of social necessary labor required to produce it. David Ricardo also introduced the labor theory of value. He explained this theory that exchange rate of an item is determined by the cost that need to be incurred to produce the good. Ricardo considers that the cost of raw material and labor wage that are only sufficient to survive for the worker concerned. Ricardo puts more emphasis on maximizing result production and minimize production costs by providing minimum wage for workers. The example of this theory is that if a table takes 2 hours to make and a chair takes 1 hour to make, one table is worth 2 chairs, regardless of how much per hour the maker of the table and chairs were paid. The labor theory of value would later become one of the foundations of Marxism. The theory of comparative advantage is theory put forward by David Ricardo in his book The Principle of Political Economy and Taxation in 18 and 19. In theory, countries' comparative advantage can remain threat even if one the state has no absolute advantage or, in another word, have absolute loss against other countries in producing two goods. Trading will stay beneficial in the country experiencing absolute loss, especially its producing one good that have absolute loss is smaller. In general, David Ricardo based his theory on a number of assumptions, simplified, namely, number one, there are only two countries and two goods. The second is free trading. There is labor mobility perfect in the country, but not there is mobility between the two countries. Next, cost content production. Next, no cost transport and no change in technology in the world. David Ricardo other well-known concepts are his critique of protection in the agricultural sector. The theory of rents. The theory of rent shows that the benefit of a rise in grain price will tend to accrue to the owners of agricultural lands in the form of rents paid by tenant farmers. David Ricardo was the first economist to discuss the idea of rents or benefits that accrue to the owner of assets solely due to their ownership rather than their contribution to any actual productive activity. Rent theory, Ricardo's idea, was later also applied to political economics in the idea of rent seeking, where the owners of assets that benefit from public policies that directly increase rents toward them have, and act on an incentive to influence public policy. Ricardian equivalence in public finance, Ricardo wrote that whether a government chooses to finance its expenditure through immediate taxation or through borrowing and deficit spending, the result for the economy will be equivalent. If taxpayers are rational, then they will account for any expected increase in future taxation to finance current deficit by saving an amount equivalent to current deficit spending. So the net change to the total spending will be zero. So if a government engages in deficit spending to boost the economy, then private spending will just fall by an equivalent amount as people save more. And the net effect on the aggregate economy will be a wash. Okay, that's all for me. The economic theory from David Ricardo. I hope you all enjoy and this video can be useful for you all. I'm sorry for my mistake. Thank you very much and see you.